Erev Tov for Amir and I, and good afternoon for Dr. Schechter from California. This is TMS Roundtable Israel. We are live in our virtual studio where we go live weekly on the global TMS, Facebook, and now tonight, after a few weeks, going live on the Israel Facebook to bring you healing, self-healing. Together with my colleagues, I had asked them a few weeks ago to come join me so we could talk about safety and threat, which is something we do talk about in mind-body healing and Dr. John Sarno's work and in the work we've been doing over the years in the roundtable community. There is a threat. There is a real threat to us psychologically here in Israel and all over the world. I think all people are feeling it. So we'd like to speak with you. We can translate to Hebrew. Just let me know on the feed what you need. We're happy to bring this to you bilingually. So we're going to speak about how we can bring safety and calm to our bodies, to our nervous systems, and how we can continually build a foundation to deal with threat, emotional threat, and sometimes, if it needs to be, physiological, psychological threat. So I'll say no more and let Dr. Schechter speak, and then the three of us will discuss, and we're happy to hear from you in the audience. Please ask us any questions. Say shalom, speak up. We're happy to interact with you. Thank you, David. Thank you, Dr. David, for being here. David, we're going to call you by your Jewish name. David?
David.
דוד.
אני אתרגם מדי פעם כשצריך, בסדר? אז בינתיים אנחנו הולכים לדבר על הנושא של איום, שזה הנושא המרכזי. איום, threat.
איום.
וגם איך התקופה הזאת משפיעה על אנשים בכלל, במערכת הפיזיולוגית שלהם, על כאב, אנשים שסובלים מכאב, איך הם מושפעים מהתקופה הזאת. I will translate for you. Also, we're going to talk also about people who suffer from chronic pain and how they are affected from this time. Please,
yes, well, thank you, Tovah, for having me, and thank you, Amir, for being here today as well. Some people may know that I met both of you in person when I was visiting Israel in May. It was a wonderful opportunity to speak to a group that was assembled, mostly practitioners. This would be physicians, physical therapists, psychologists who are interested in the mind-body connection, who are interested in how emotions affect your physical health. And we had about 20 or 25 people in Dr. Zivony's backyard. And it was a very enjoyable evening, meeting people and giving a talk and answering some questions. Also was a wonderful trip to Israel at that time. And I was there for a wedding. Just recently saw the couple who got married because they made a short trip to the United States recently and got a chance to see them here as well. But I want to just say that the first thing we have to say is it's perfectly normal to feel threat, to feel unsafe, to feel stress during these difficult times in Israel and for Jews around the world dealing with a flare-up of anti-Semitism and other political issues. So it's important to know that it's normal how you feel. The second thing that's important to understand is that our bodies are revved up from adrenaline, from everything that's going on, and that we can only take so much stimulation, if you will. So I want to think about it in terms of threat. I want to think about it in terms of our nervous systems and ways that we can briefly calm our nervous systems in the midst of this threat. So we're going to discuss some strategies and tactics you can do for that. In addition, one of our big themes is that some people are more vulnerable to chronic pain or other psychophysiologic symptoms. These would be physical symptoms that come from emotional experiences and stress, and that all of us, to some degree, are susceptible or capable of having these experiences. And we are all experts in the fact that our emotional experiences affect our physical health and our physical well-being. So each of us is going to address different techniques that we've used with patients to help them cope with pain or to help them cope with the physical effects of stress, and also to take it a step further, how can we calm our nervous systems a little bit? Well, one of the primal things is physical activity.
One second,
Yeah.
Doc. Amir's going to just translate a little bit in Hebrew,
Okay.
and thank you. Amazing. You speak amazing Hebrew. Amir, I love your Hebrew. It's amazing.
Yeah, I have practiced it a lot. So,
David's going to come to Israel, and he's going to join my Opon, my eternal Opon Tovah. Go ahead.
Okay.
אז דוקטור שכטר ציין שקודם כל המצב הלא נורמלי הזה, זה מאוד נורמלי לחוש איום. כי אנחנו באמת תחת איום, אומנם לא מיידי, אבל יש איום. והוא דיבר על זה שאנחנו נדבר היום על איך ניתן להרגיע את מערכת העצבים שלנו, איך ניתן לחזור למצב של יותר רגיעה. והוא אמר לכם שיש אנשים שיותר פגיעים בתסמינים פסיכופיזיולוגיים, זאת אומרת תסמינים שנובעים מהנפש, ביניהם גם כאב, אבל יכול להיות גם תסמינים אחרים, כמו דפיקות לב, כמו הזעת יתר, כמו קושי בשינה. כל התסמינים האלה, יש אנשים שיותר פגיעים אליהם, אותם אנשים שפגיעים גם לכאב כרוני. אנחנו נשוחח קצת על הנושא הזה, מי יותר פגיע ואיך אפשר באמת להתמודד איתם, איך אפשר להפחית את העוצמה שלהם, אולי אפילו לא לפחד מהם. So I added a bit to what you said.
Well, thank you for translating, and thank you for adding. We look forward to hearing from you in English and Hebrew soon as well. But I was saying to calm the nervous system, there's several things that are starting points. One is physical activity. Now that physical activity might be in the course of your ordinary activities, like packing boxes for soldiers, or making meals, or doing other things. It also could be making sure you go for a walk every day, or you go for a bike ride every day. So that's your basic, keeping your nervous system calm, burning off some of that adrenaline, some of that stress and tension. You need that. You have to take care of yourself to take care of other people. And so the saying on an airplane is, remember to put the mask on your own face before you put it on your child's face, because if you pass out, you can't help your child in that situation. So physical activity. The second thing that you have a tremendous amount of in general in Israel is family and community support. So interacting with other people, spending time with people, obviously having a common goal, and just enjoying one another's company, whether it be during meals, whether it be on Shabbat, wherever it may be, to have a little bit of time as often as you can with family and community. And I think that's one of the ways that Israelis do get through these difficult times. And both of you may have comments on that as well. The third would be take action. You know, initially the response to the threat of Hamas is almost inactivity. It's a freezing response, but now people have begun to take action. So taking action is a healthy response to stress. And sometimes those actions are small, like when I call my congressman in the United States, or I send an email to the president. And sometimes they're more profound actions that people take, including flying to Israel to volunteer in different capacities, or doing chiropractic work in Mount Hermon, as I believe Dr. Tovah did, or volunteering to go to a base or something and work with soldiers. So actions are very important. And the other thing I'll mention before allowing others to speak is it's also important to get rest. So even though you might be going 14, 16 hours a day between your work and your volunteer activities, your community activities, your support of the troops, etc., you do need to make sure your body's getting some rest. You know, we're not all sleeping as well as we did prior to October 7th, but any kind of sleep we can get, any kind of rest we can get, allows our body to rejuvenate and refresh itself and be ready for the next day and the next challenge. So those are just some very basic things I wanted to mention. We'll be able to go into more emotionally focused activities, but I just wanted to start with that.
Okay, do you want me to translate? I'm writing this down so I won't forget.
Okay, Amir.
So,
Amazing.
אז דוקטור שכטר דיבר על דברים גופניים שאפשר לעשות כדי בעצם להיות יותר מחוסנים בפני סטרס. אז דבר אחד שהוא דיבר עליו זה פעילות גופנית. אם אנחנו נשרוף את האדרנלין שמצטבר אצלנו בגוף במקום הכפייה, יש לנו הרבה אדרנלין, אם נוציא אותו בחוץ בפעילות גופנית ונדאג לעצמנו, נוכל להרגיש יותר רגועים. הוא ציין גם שכדי לטפל בעצמנו, לטפל באחרים, קודם כל אנחנו צריכים לטפל בעצמנו, אנחנו צריכים להיות מספיק קשובים פנימה. הוא נתן את הדוגמה של האדם במטוס שקודם כל שם לעצמו ואז שם לילד שלו את המסכה. הוא דיבר על קשר עם משפחה ועם חברים. אני אוסיף שזה נקרא co-regulation או ויסות הדדי. בעצם אנחנו נמצאים עם עוד מישהו ואנחנו מבסטים אחד את השני. כמובן שיש אנשים שיותר רגועים מאיתנו ויש אנשים שיותר לחוצים מאיתנו, וזה עוזר לנו כך או כך גם להתווסת. התגובה הטבעית שלנו היא לקפוא במקום. דווקא עשייה חיובית יכולה להועיל לזה, זאת אומרת להתנדב, לעשות דברים עבור מי שזקוק יותר מאיתנו. הוא גם ציין את הנושא של שעה מנוחה, שחייבים לתת לנו לגוף לנוח. אנחנו נדבר אולי, אחד התסמינים זה באמת קושי בהירדמות, ונדבר אולי מה אפשר לעשות עם זה. And I have a question for you, David, if it's okay. You said that first you need to take care of yourself and then others. And I see that many people take action and go volunteer, and this by itself helps them, like you said in the third comment about physical activity. So how can one know if he takes care of himself when he helps others? How do you know that you're tuned in and not just like doing many things just to avoid meeting your feelings?
That's a very good question. That may be one of the reasons that sometimes it's hard for us to turn back and see what our own needs are. And by the way, I'm speaking to a balance here. I'm not saying that we always need to focus on ourselves. Much of our activity is focused on other people or the community or the society. But it's important to just put yourself on the list. Put yourself on the list of those people you take care of. So, you know, obviously children come very high on the priority list. Your wife or husband or significant other, various community activities that you're doing, but just make sure you're on the list of people that you are taking care of. And as you said, sometimes it might be that we avoid taking care of ourselves because we don't want to delve into those feelings associated with that. And I think that was something you had started to speak about before as we first met. So perhaps we could go on to some thoughts you have on self-care or on emotional regulation or other things.
So I'll just translate what I asked you and what you answered. So אני שאלתי את דוקטור שכטר לגבי דאגה לעצמנו לעומת דאגה לאחר. הרבה היום מתנדבים ועושים פעילות למען אחרים, למען המפונים, למען משפחות החטופים, וגם למען חקלאים שזקוקים עכשיו לעזרה שלהם. ולפעמים הם עושים את זה ולא דואגים מספיק לעצמם. אז איך הדברים מסתדרים אחד עם השני. ודוקטור שכטר ענה יפה שבאמת מדובר באיזון. צריך לשים את עצמנו ברשימה של אנשים שחשובים לנו. כאילו אני לא יכול לשים את עצמי האחרון ברשימה הזאת, אני צריך להיות בין הראשונים. אני, המשפחה שלי, אני לא יכול לשים את עצמי ממש בסוף. ואמרנו שנמשיך לדבר מפה על נושא של רגשות, ובאמת אולי איך אני לא מתרוקן מנתינה, או לא מתרוקן בכלל, כי אין לי כל כך מה לתת. I think that there's another important issue here that many of us experience is the guilt of not doing or freezing, and it's also important to validate that exactly in this point of time, it's also definitely okay not to do anything, or just to be with yourself and have some compassion, self-compassion to this situation, because it's like many things. I like this saying, it's a normal reaction to an abnormal situation.
Very good.
And we've never experienced something like this in Israel. Even in our worst wars, there wasn't a situation that's similar to this one. And many people here in Israel found themselves very like into themselves and not going out. Like I have a patient that stays at home and only goes out for like immediate things like groceries, or she doesn't go out and doesn't even communicate. So some of the tips that you gave, Dr. Schechter, were very important, just to know that we can do something. Like we don't have to be just alone with ourselves, with our guilt. It's okay to be like in freeze mode, but then we would like to speak how to get out of this freeze mode, how to go on, how to have some shigra, and like the normal.
Shigra is a program or a schedule or a technique.
Like the normal life. Routine, yeah, routine, even during the war. So we have a war, and for me, it's like it's quite far away. I don't have alarms here in where I live in Binyamina, but some do. And how can I keep some routine? And it's part of the things that keep us safe. To have that certain routine that we can return to every day. And Tovah, I would like to ask you maybe, how do you experience the situation?
Well, I wanted to just say something interesting, because we didn't really prep this, and when David brought up about the community and family and friends, and I remember reading a book years ago by Dr. Dean Ornish. He was writing about heart attacks and how if we just had family, friends, and faith, that would directly affect people's heart attacks. They did a study and did research. And that was before my mind body. It was years ago. And now I understand that was chemical. When I call a friend, when I meditate, when I journal, when I exercise, I'm creating a chemical action in my brain, because we're not going to talk about thoughts or chemical. That's more quantum physics. But it's chemical to love. It's chemical to give compassion. It's chemical to, even if we feel guilty, but to be compassionate to someone. So we're talking about also how we can help our immune system and our nervous system. And this is what I love about understanding the physio-psychological and mind-body, because it's very scientific, the art and science of. And I wanted to just mention that about how, we're not just talking about new age, like just feel good. We're talking about chemical reactions in your system. I mean, yeah, I went and saw the soldiers, and first of all, they are so strong and so grounded and so in the moment. They don't even look at the news. So when you even understand what's like these, like you can only want to just take care of yourself so you can be there for them. It's almost like when we're here, in the eye of the storm. And I think people in America may not understand how amazing, this country is in the IDF. And that's another topic. But the point is, it's like, we take care of ourselves. We're helping the war effort. And then if you want to go pack food and take care of soldiers, and, great, this is amazing. so that was part of what I wanted to mention about the chemical thing, and that it's very good for your body to express your feelings, to know yourself. This is what I want to talk about. Now I got myself back. So we understand stress. I want to hear what you two have to say about this. We all know how we react to stress. We all know how we're triggered. Now, this is a very, like Amir said, this is not your typical war and stress, but ultimately how we react, like how we react to pain, like the guy with the nail in his boot or the guy with the nail in his face, and how we have different reactions to pain because of how we grew up. So we have a sense of how we react to stress, whether, you know, how we're going to deal with stress. Now, I mention that because if we can see threat as possibly an opportunity to know ourselves, how am I reacting? How am I behaving? How am I feeling? Because when you know yourself and how you feel and how you react to a trigger, then you know how to take care of yourself. And that was the point I wanted to make. You know, like in the pain reprocessing therapy work, it's like anxiety and stress were like an opportunity to be able to be with the stress, with the threat, understand. So my point is, can we somehow use threat and use trauma and use pain to know ourselves? Because there is that part of pain and stress and fear and anger. And then when we know who we are and how we react to our feelings, then we have a pattern we're creating. Then we're creating a new neural pathway that works for us. So put that into words, the two of you.
Should we have Dr. Krouny translate some of the preceding?
So I'll try to translate more, like in short, what Tovah said.
Yeah, in short, like this is I just want to say, this is my little anxiety. I get a little anxious and I sometimes go a little off topic, and maybe it can be confusing because that's my pattern of anxiety. So then I bring myself back to how do we know ourselves? How can we let the stress, how can the stress teach us how we can help ourselves and how we can be in touch with our emotions? That's what I kind of want to put out there.
אז טובה בעצם, אני רק אקצר את החלק האחרון שלך, שטובה בעצם שואלת איך הסטרס שאנחנו נמצאים בו עכשיו יכול לבוא לטובתנו. עכשיו, אנחנו שואלים איך מלחמה יכולה לבוא לטובתנו, איך מה שאנחנו חווים ממנה יכול לבוא לטובתנו, אבל זאת שאלה שבאמת פותחת את הראש. And it opens our mind to something else, because we tend to, אנחנו נוטים לחשוב שסטרס דבר רע. אבל יכול להיות שאם נלמד את התגובות שלנו לסטרס, נוכל דווקא לצמוח מהם. וזה מה שטובה מזמינה אותנו לדבר עליו. אנחנו נענה לזה. I'm curious about your answer, Dr. Schechter. How can stress be a motivator?
I'm curious about your answer as well. But my response to that would be that in the short term, I think I would focus with patients and with the community more on surviving the stress and being as resilient as you can, and that in the longer term, hopefully after the war is over and all of that, we can look back and maybe we can learn from how we cope with things, et cetera. I think it's almost too much to expect of people to use this very, very difficult time to learn a lot about themselves. That's my opinion. And that I like the comment about routines that you made, or maybe Amir made it initially, the idea that in the midst of craziness, if we can get a little bit of order and we can get a little bit of ordinary life in, that, you know, that can be a way to calm our nervous system and keep us at an equilibrium state, so to speak. Things that we're used to doing, whether it be our dinners with family or our community events, et cetera. Get into that routine, getting up at the same time, even if your company is closed because everyone is on reserve duty at this point. Just getting up, doing things, routines. For the small number of people who want to go beyond that, we'll talk a little bit about how, and this, I'll let Dr. Zivony mostly go into this, about how labeling some of your feelings and understanding how you're responding to this particular event might be related to how you responded to something as a teenager or even as a child. And yes, there is the opportunity to use that in a learning process. But, you know, for most people, it's going to be just, you're in survival mode. How do you keep yourself healthy? How do you keep yourself resilient? How do you keep yourself, if you will, I think it's Kipat Barzel, right? The Iron Dome. How do you have is that right? How do you have an emotional Iron Dome to protect yourself from some of the emotional threats right now? But those are my thoughts on that. I'd like to hear what Dr. Zivony has to say.
Okay, so first I'll translate you. So דוקטור שכטר בעצם אמר שמבחינתו עכשיו להתמודד עם הסטרס ולראות איך צומחים מהסטרס זה אולי מוקדם מדי. שבעצם קודם כל אנחנו צריכים להיות ביחד ולנסות להבין איך אנחנו צולחים את זה ביחד, איך אנחנו הופכים להיות עם יותר חוסן או עמידות, resilience. There is no word in Hebrew that it's exactly resilience. איך אנחנו יכולים לפתח חוסן ביחד. אני חושב שזאת העוצמה שלנו גם כחברה ישראלית. Our strength is in Israeli society that we can be together. We have friends, we have communities. טובה ציינה מלפני כן שבמקומות שיש בהם קהילות, אז שורדים יותר טוב התקפי לב, וזה נכון גם לדברים אחרים. אז והוא ציין גם לגבי שגרה, שחשוב באמת למצוא דברים קטנים של שגרה. אם זה לקום באותה שעה, בכל בוקר, למרות שכל החברה שלך גויסה למילואים, ואתה לא באמת צריך לקום, לאכול ארוחת ערב עם המשפחה שלך. דברים שיכולים לשמור על איזשהו עוגן בחיים שלנו. ואני רציתי באמת להוסיף, אחד, אפשר לצמוח מתוך סטרס, זה נכון, יש מה שנקרא, כולם מדברים על פוסט-טראומטיק סטרס דיסאורדר, אבל שזה תסמונת פוסט-טראומטית, אבל יש גם צמיחה פוסט-טראומטית, אבל אולי זה באמת מוקדם להגיד שעכשיו אנחנו נצמח מזה, עכשיו אנחנו צריכים בעצם להשאיר את הראש מעל המים, ולראות איך אנחנו צולחים ועוברים את התקופה הזאת. וחלק מהעקרונות שעוזרים לנו באמת לצלוח את זה ולשים לב לגוף ולרגשות שלנו, ואני לא מפריד אותם, אני חושב שהרגשות נחווים בגוף, הגוף מגיב לרגשות, הדברים קורים ביחד. I'll translate it for you. I said that it's part of our reaction, or there is a difference between reaction and response. In Hebrew, both of them are tguva. But reaction is something that we cannot control. It happens automatically, and response is something we can choose. We can choose how to respond. So our automatic reaction is like to embrace likavets and to freeze and to have like these repetitive thoughts on how we can make it, or it's an awful time right now, and when it will ever end, will it ever end, and think about the kidnapped and the hostages. So we tend to go on the same circles, and part of the resolution or going out of these circles is being aware of what happens exactly now, and being aware of our thoughts, like meditation, being aware of our bodies, להיות ערניים למחשבות ולגוף שלנו, והרגשות שנמצאים בגוף, and the emotions that exist in our bodies, because emotions are always there. נדבר אולי עוד על כל מיני טכניקות, do you want me to mention now, or we'll go? Okay.
You can go. Yeah.
So I won't, like, there are the simple things. It are not simple when you are very in a stress or threat situation. So it's difficult to change the automatic. But bringing the breath in and breath out, which is the simplest thing that many virtual meetings told us in the last 6 weeks. So it's the easy methods to implement. שיטות פשוטות ליישום סך הכל. אני אוהב שיטה ממש פשוטה שהיא אומרים, תמיד צריך לנשום 10 דקות, 5 דקות.
Can you talk about the exhale, how important it is, and what it does, what it does for our nervous system?
So, טובה מזכירה, וזה נכון שאם אני אנשום, אז זה יכניס אותי יותר חרדה. וזה מה שקורה לנו הרבה פעמים בהתקפי חרדה. אבל אם אנחנו יכולים לנשום דרך האף, ואם קשה ממש ולעשות אפשר גם דרך הפה, לנשום ולהוציא ארוך, נשיפה ארוכה, long exhale, it could be really helpful because I cannot run from a lion chasing me when breathing like. So when my brain recognizes this kind of breathing, it says, maybe I'm wrong, maybe my prediction is wrong. Maybe there is no real threat right now, and I can calm down the system, or to use the parasympathetic system. And I wanted to just mention a little technique that helps, and Tovah knows it. It's called the physiological sigh.
Sigh? Oh, how did you know that, Amir? It's fabulous.
So it's really easy, and it is said to reset the nervous system. So when I'm really stressed and really like in a threat mode, I could breathe through my nose, a long breath, like, and then a little small breath after I don't have like more space, and then release through the mouth or through the nose or with a sigh, like I could do it a few times, but not like more than 3-4 times. It's enough, just to bring some peacefulness to my system. אז הסברתי, אני אסביר בעברית, הסברתי שבשביל להכניס, קודם כל המוח הוא איבר של חיזוי וניבוי. הוא בעצם מנבא דרך הגוף שלנו גם מה המצב שלנו. אז אם אני מגיב בקיבוץ ובנשימות מהירות, המוח שלי יבין שאכן יש פה מצב סכנה. אנחנו נראה ש... I think that David froze there.
No, he's here.
Anyhow, ויש לנו את הדרך לשנות את זה, כי המערכת העצבים האוטונומית הולכת לשני הכיוונים. המערכת הפרסימפתטית, את המערכת שמרגיעה את הגוף, עובדת 80% מהסיבים שלה מגיעים בכלל מלמטה למעלה. זאת אומרת, אם השרירים שלי רפואיים, המוח שלי מבין שהוא יכול להירגע. אם אני נושם עמוק, נושף ארוך, המוח שלי מבין שהוא יכול להירגע. אז הצעתי איזושהי טכניקה של שאיפה עמוקה דרך האף, שאיפה קטנה נוספת בסוף השאיפה, ואז שחרור דרך הפה או דרך האף, אפשר עם הנחה כזאת. זה סתם טכניקה פשוטה שלא צריך עבורה לפנות 10 דקות ביום ואנחנו לא מרגישים שיש לנו. אפשר לעשות אותה כשאנחנו מרגישים מאוד מאוד מתוחים. נמשיך לדבר על עוד דברים שקשורים לרגשות.
We actually do that. We do this like this physiological side naturally, and I'm going to send it out on the page because it's been studied by the scientist Andrew Huberman, and we do it kind of naturally sometimes when we're. So he's just having you be mindful about it and how it completely affects the vagus nerve and it tones the vagus nerve as well.
מצב הווגוס הוא הצו שמתווך את התווך עם תף, את הכף. והמערכת הפרסימפתטית שמרגיעה את הגוף. And this sigh is actually, in somatic experiencing, they call it discharge. When somebody sighs in front of you, even as a therapist, if you see that somebody sighs, it means that something is, like he approved what you said, and something relaxes. So it's also like a sign that something is discharged from the nervous system. There are other signs as well, like a yawn or like grips. So it's.
I just don't. I'm going to interrupt you like a good Israeli. I just want to see what Sivan is saying. Is it a question or just a comment?
Just a comment. She said that Avira Mechaya, the air that brings life.
Welcome, Sivan. So, Mamshicha, continue. Were you going to say something else, Amir? I would like to put in something here. I may be taking, I may be going out on a limb, but this is my studio, so I'm going to go on a limb because I think it could help some people. And, you know, I tried to read Viktor Frankl's book. I picked it up about a week ago, and I couldn't read it. It was a little too intense for me because I was too anxious to read it. But I say this statement over and over again, and I think for me, it's a place that calms, and I share it with clients, and I wonder if it's possibly a place that might calm people. You know, what we learned, one of the basic things we learned from Viktor Frankl and logotherapy was when you, between a thought and an action, between a thought and a stimulus, you have a moment. And in that moment, whether you respond or react, there is freedom. And so I'm just, you know, thumbs up for like our thoughts and how powerful, and our connection to our thoughts and our connection and our understanding of our emotions is the most powerful place, like the solution bifmim, like pitaron bifmim, of how we can help ourselves, whether, you know, it's a small threat, a big T, or a little t, or a gigantic threat, that we really can help ourselves. And that's pretty much what brought us three together, you know, in our practice. And now is how we help others to help ourselves. We might be expert in a few things, but you're the doctor, you're the therapist. And that's where we do have freedom. And that statement just calms me. And I feel very strong about that. We have that ability, each of us, to make a decision that serves us, to channel our fear, channel our anger. You know, that's all. I just wanted to put that out there. And if you want to respond to that, you can. And if not, it's okay too. I just felt it was an important fact, important comment, you know, concept that helps me and lots of people that I meet. Enough about me. What about you, Dr. David?
Well, I think that was a great discussion by Dr. Zivony about, you know, the importance of breath work, breathing. You know, that's something that in the moment is probably the fastest thing you can do to feel less tense or to feel calmer, is to just take a breath, just breathe, or focus on your breath, your exhale. So I think that's great. And, you know, some of the things I addressed were, what do you do after you've taken that breath? You know, how do you structure the rest of your day? How do you structure your week? And, you know, we have to focus on both the micro moment and then the rest of the week. You know, our work with chronic pain teaches us that those moments give us a chance to often connect with the feelings that sometimes underlie our physical symptoms. So I know that's not exactly what I was saying before. I was saying this is more of a crisis time. Let's just try to work on techniques that we can get through it. But at the same time, those moments after you've had the breath and you feel calmer, sometimes you're able to think about things that you can react differently to, as Tovah was saying. I think that Amir was also pointing out, I think maybe indirectly, that, you know, the news media can be overwhelming. And so I think in general, we have to limit ourselves to how much a day that we are looking at the news. You know, we want to know what's going on, but at the same time, it's not necessarily the healthiest thing for our nervous system to be locked into the news too much. I imagine that's an issue in Israel as well as the United States. But so some of my patients who are getting too anxious, I tell them, you know, turn off the news all but maybe a half an hour a day or 15 minutes or something, look on your internet, and it's better for you. You know, it's better for you to take a little break from that. So that's another comment I have.
It's quite similar to, like, if you suffer from obesity or you you're struggling with your weight, so if you don't have all these fattening foods at home, so you will get less, like it will be easier. So just keep off the candy now. How absurd it sounds! It's the news. Like we think that we could get some more control when we hear the news. We know what's happening. We are more in control, but it's an illusion. We are not more in control. We could actually be more in control when we don't watch the news, and we want to know what's happening, how the IDF is doing, and how many people got killed. So we get updated, but it doesn't actually makes us calmer. And
what I'm gonna negate that a little bit. What if someone can build a sense like a protection, like, you know, like prepare yourself. Okay, I'm gonna watch the news. I'm gonna read. Like it's also, again, I see this as I'm gonna build a protective place for me that I can watch this, support my country, get some information. You know, like I think that's what prayer is. That's what meditation is. Like it's almost like I'm building up my resources. You know,
but Tovah, you were saying that when you visited the soldiers, they didn't have access to the news. They were in the moment. You know, they were just doing their tasks that they had to do, and that in a sense helped them to cope better. Now, there's reasons why they don't have the news, because often they're not allowed to take their cell phones to the front line and all of that. But it's, you know, sometimes just being in the moment and doing your actions, taking care of your family, doing your job, doing your volunteer work, whatever that is healthier for your emotional state than taking in a lot of information, which often makes us worse. And as Dr. Zivony was saying, it gives us an illusion of control, I think.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And sometimes
we're all tempted. We're all tempted. I mean, I'm checking websites multiple times a day to see what's going on as well. But, you know, I know that it's not ultimately a wonderful thing for my health to do that for too long, in contrast to other things. So maybe Dr. Zivony wants to translate some of our thoughts on the news and keeping healthy.
אז שוחחנו על חדשות, וכמה חדשות יכולות להיות.
By the way, I think most Israelis would say, mind your own business. I'll do what I want.
I let him finish. חדשות.
שהחדשות מעוררות מתח מאוד גדול, ויכולות להחמיר בעצם את מצבנו הבריאותי. וטובה אמרה, אולי אפשר בעצם למצוא זמן ביום, אני חושב ששניכם גם צודקים, אפשר למצוא זמן מוגדר ביום שבו אני צופה בחדשות, ואני יודע שרק שם אני צופה. וזה יכול להיות בפני עצמו איזשהו תרגול. אנחנו צופים, כמו כשאנחנו עושים מדיטציה, אנחנו צופים בחדשות במשך חצי שעה, וזה הזמן שלנו. ואני דיברתי על זה שבאמת זה מין אשליה שאנחנו בשליטה, אבל בעצם אנחנו לא בשליטה. כשאנחנו צופים בחדשות, אנחנו חושבים שאנחנו בשליטה, ואנחנו לא. I would like to address, because I believe that many of the people watching us, they came to your site, Tovah, because they suffer from chronic pain or they're interested in chronic pain. So I would like to, and many people like us talk about ways to relieve stress and tension, but not many talk about how chronic pain sufferers deal with the situation and what happens in this kind of situation to chronic pain sufferers. And this is, I think, something that was not really spoken about in other medias. So this is our topic, and I invite us to talk about how chronic pain sufferers react or respond to these kind of situations. And Tovah, would you like to start? Dr.
Well,
Schechter?
I want to go back to the feelings, which I believe, and the proof is the science that they are the basis of how we can help ourselves by understanding how do we deal with our fear and our anger. I mean, there's an enormous amount of anger and fear happening among all of us on different levels. and sadness. And so I like to help people with, because we don't want to be with our sadness or fear or anger. We don't want to be with it. We want to avoid it by smoking cigarettes, smoking joints, doing many things, which I said, I'm not against doing that, but I want people to be in touch with the emotion, because that emotion, if it gets repressed enough, it can turn into indirectly autoimmune symptoms and pain via the nervous system, via the fight and flight, via the hormonal system, which is another topic. I'd like to have the discussion of how to help people deal with their deep emotions and how they can use it to help them get through this. Can we talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, so Dr. Zivony and Dr. Tovah also are talking about the fact that people with chronic pain, or people with what we call the type T personality, which is very hard on yourself, perfectionist, people pleaser, highly responsible for others, goodist who wants to change the world. People with these personality types, or history of chronic pain, or history of emotional trauma as a child, might be more likely to have a flare-up during stressful circumstances, which is something that we're dealing with now in Israel. And so number one, to identify the symptom that you're having. Could be a headache, could be back pain, could be arm pain, could be abdominal pain. Where appropriate, get checked by your physician to make sure there's not something serious going on. Usually it's not, but you do want to make sure you get that checked out. And then if you're advised that there doesn't seem to be anything seriously going on, then what we advise, and what our experience has been, is that if you then shift from focusing physically to focusing psychologically, that's the first step in getting better, acknowledging that the emotions are playing a role in your pain, and then learning to acknowledge the feelings and process the feelings more effectively. And one of the ways that we process our feelings, and many of us use this technique, is writing, expressive writing or journaling. So taking 10 or 15 minutes at the end of your day or the beginning of your day to write about how you're feeling, and then sometimes to connect how you're feeling with past experiences, can be a very effective way of it, in a sense, doing self-psychotherapy, right? Helping yourself to understand your feelings. And then we also use a technique called affirmations, and that's used in a variety of ways. But one example would be, the doctor says, I'm fine. My back is healthy. I'm strong. I can heal completely from my pain. So by repeating these phrases to yourself, I'm healthy and I'm strong. My pain is due to stress and it will go away. This can be very helpful in reprogramming your nervous system and allowing your nervous system to have neuroplasticity, or changing your nervous system as a result of thoughts. We've learned that language is the software of the brain. And so if we change the language that we're thinking and talking to ourselves and others about it, then we get an improvement in the software of our brain, which affects the hardware of our brain, which affects our whole nervous system. So that's just a very brief summary. I can go on this subject for hours, but it's a very brief summary of the fact that some people who are in the audience, or some people who will listen to this, who have been attracted to Dr. Tovah's roundtable, because it's a TMS roundtable. It's about the tension myoneural syndrome, chronic pain, and the mind, brain, and emotions, will want to know that beyond the general instructions that we've given today to try to help everybody cope with stress, we can also acknowledge that some people will be more prone to having flare-ups either during, or in my experience, very interestingly, after the conflict. So hopefully there is.
Why does that happen? Stop for a minute. Why does that happen?
May it come soon, but if it takes months or however long it takes, when things calm down again, and you've been going with the adrenaline, et cetera.
Survival mode.
And you finally get a chance to relax. And that's when often the back pain comes or the headache comes or even a flu can come, an illness, because we go, and then we can't go anymore. So either during or after, you may be more prone to having a physical condition that's due to tension and stress. I've outlined a few of the many techniques we use to help you with that. And Dr. Zivony's practice in Israel and Dr. Tovah's practice in Israel are both dedicated to working with people with that type of issue. So I'm going to let Dr. Zivony do some translation and then maybe add some comments about his approach to the chronic pain patient.
Good point.
I know I said a lot. So
no, you made some good points.
Remember all of it.
Some good points, David. I'll remember them if Amir forgets them.
Okay, so אז דוקטור שכטר ציין שאנחנו באמת מדברים על אנשים שסובלים מכאב כרוני, ואנשים שבדרך כלל יש להם אופי מאוד מסוים, תכונות אישיות מאוד מסוימות שציין אותם הדוקטור סרנו, נקראות גם type T personality, של אנשים שהם יותר לחוצים, אנשים שצריכים עוד שליטה, אנשים מאוד ביקורתיים כלפי עצמם, פרפקציוניסטים, אנשים שמרצים אחרים, אנשים שלוקחים אחריות יתר על דברים. ואצל האנשים האלה הם נוטים לפתח יותר איזשהו זעם פנימי, אבל גם רגשות אחרים שמדחיקים אותם. וחלק מהריפוי, בעצם הקלה באותם רגשות מודחקים, זה דווקא להוציא אותם החוצה. טכניקה מאוד טובה להוציא אותם החוצה, זה דרך כתיבה, מה שנקרא גם פסיכותרפיה עצמית בעצם. אני לא צריך ללכת לפסיכותרפיסט, אני עושה את זה לבד על הדף. כי הוא מדבר אליו, מדבר על הפסיכותרפיסט, הוא מדבר על עצמי, בדרך זה חווה איזשהו שחרור, גם קטרזיס, כמו שאני מוסיף על דוקטור שכטר, שבעצם ברגע שאני רואה את הרגשות שלי על הדף, ורואה ששום דבר לא קורה, אני יכול לקבל אותם יותר. הוא הוסיף גם לגבי אפרמציות, שהמוח שלנו בעצם שומע את מה שאנחנו אומרים, לאט לאט הוא מתחיל להאמין בזה ולשנות את החומרה. אני גם מציין את הספר של דוקטור שכטר שמכיל המון אפרמציות כאלה, יש לו workbook, I'm just putting some advertisement, the workbook of Dr. Schechter, the new one, just arrived. It has many affirmations that helps us be more confident in our body, to know that our symptoms are not from something pathological, yes. אז מה שעוד ציין באמת שקודם כל, לפני הכל, שיש תסמינים, צריך להיבדק על ידי רופא, מי שכבר מכיר שיש לו שוב ושוב, יכול להיות שלא צריך להיבדק שוב, אבל לבדיקה על ידי רופא, שגם לפני עצמה, and I mentioned it here, going to your family physician, and me and Dr. Schechter are both family physicians, he's also an expert in sport medicine, so ללכת לרופא המשפחה, יש בזה גם כן משהו שמאוד מרגיע. וברגע שרופא המשפחה שלי אומר, אין לך שום דבר מסוכן, ונראה לי שזה קשור לסטרס שלך, יש בזה משהו שיכול כבר להרגיע אותי. אז אנחנו מוודאים קודם כל שהתסמינים שלנו לא נובעים ממשהו מסוכן, ואז אנחנו מתייחסים לרגשות שלנו, מחזקים את הביטחון שלנו, בזה שהתסמינים שלנו לא מסוכנים, שאני בריא, שהרופא שלי אמר שאני בריא ואני יכול להיות בטוח בזה. הוא דיבר גם על זה שהכאב מופיע לפעמים תוך כדי הסטרס, תוך כדי זה שאנחנו במלחמה עכשיו, לפעמים דווקא שהכל שוכח, המלחמה פתאום נגמרה, או כבר אין לי כל כך הרבה סטרס, הכל עבר, דווקא אז יופיע הכאב, וגם זה משהו שאנחנו רואים די באופן שכיח. לפעמים אנשים, שאני לא מדבר על מלחמה, קוראים לזה holiday sickness. אני יוצא לחופשה, ודווקא שם אני מתחיל לסבול מתסמינים. כי פתאום כל האדרנלין יורד, ואז אני חווה פתאום איזשהו, יכול לקרוא לזה שחרור, ויכול לקרוא לזה גם, מוצא זמן בעצם להרגיש את עצמי. אני רוצה להתייחס לעוד טכניקה, שמתייחסת גם לרגשות, וגם לגוף, גם לרגשות, וגם לצרכים שלי. קודם כל, באמת חשוב לציין שבתקופה הזאת, in this time of the war, many patients who suffer from chronic pain got worse. הרבה מטופלים שסבלו מכאב כרוני לפני כן, וגם אם היה להם הפוגה, even if they were in remission, suddenly the symptoms came back. And many of my patients just wrote me, my symptoms came back. And I reassured them, okay, it's because of the war, because of the stress. And I live next to the train, the railway. And when I got into this house a few years back, I heard the noise of the train every time it passed, even during the night. I didn't wake up from it. And then it just disappeared. The train just kept on going, but I couldn't hear it anymore. And then when the war just started, I heard the train again.
Wow.
So it's the same thing. My brain became more sensitive because of the threats.
Wow, great example. Dugma
I could hear noises that I could not hear before. I like the example of a jungle. So in a jungle, you hear much like this tiny noise. You could hear it, and if you step on a thorn, אם דורכים על קוץ, אז הוא כואב הרבה יותר מאשר הקוץ בגינה. It hurts more than the thorn in my backyard. So because we are, the brain lowers the threshold, הוא מוריד את הסף של הכאב ושל השמיעה ושל הראייה, אני רואה דברים שלא הייתי רואה, because we are in threat situation. I'll add a bit more. The technique that I wanted to add, אני אדבר בעברית, הטכניקה נוגעת לשלושה דברים. אחד, זה תשומת לב לגוף ולמחשבות שלי. שתיים, הרגשות שלי, ואיפה הם שוכנים בגוף. ושלוש, מה הצרכים שלי. This technique is called the 3 N's. I don't remember where I heard about it, but the first N is notice. Notice what happens in your body. So we tend to tense and we tend to do things and just, we don't want to be in our bodies when we feel bad. לא רוצים להיות בתוך הגוף כשיש איזושהי תחושה של מתח או חוסר נעימות, רוצים לברוח מהגוף. אז דווקא שם אנחנו רוצים לשים לב, ואני אתייחס ספציפית לכאב, לשים לב לתחושת כאב שלנו, לשים לב מה קורה מסביבה, לשים לב לנשימה שלנו, לשים לב למחשבות שלנו, זה הנוטיס, לשים לב בלי שיפוטיות. עכשיו, קשה להוריד לי גם את השיפוטיות, ננסה לשים לב, באה לי מחשבה, עלתה לי מחשבה בכל מה שלומר, שמתי לב שעלתה לי מחשבה זה נורא שהם נמצאים שם החטופים, או שזה לא יעבור אף פעם, אם מדובר בכאב. This is the first N, ה-N הראשון. ה-N השני הוא naming the emotion. וציינו את זה קצת מקודם, זה נקרא גם affect labeling, או לשיים את הרגשות. לתת שם לרגשות. והרבה יגידו, אני לא יודע איזה רגש בכלל נמצא שם. אני לא יודע מה קורה עכשיו. אני שם לב לגוף שלי, ואז מנסה לשים לב איזה רגש עולה לי. יכול להיות שעולה לי איזשהו פחד. יכול להיות שהפחד הזה נמצא בבית החזה. אני אומר, יש לי פחד בבית החזה. אני שם לב לעצב שהוא ככה עולה לי למעלה בגרון. אני אומר, יש לי עצב בגרון. ואם יש רגשות נוספים, אני משיים אותם גם כן, אם אני יכול. מספיקה גם השאלה, איזה רגש נמצא אצלי עכשיו? אם אני אמשיך לשאול אותם, בפעמים הבאות שאני אעשה את התרגול, יכול להיות שיעלה לי רגש. יכול להיות שגם לא יעלה לי, אבל עצם השאלה היא חשובה. הוא חשוב. Then the last N is nurture.
So notice
the emotion and nurture. This is the third N.
The first one was
notice my body, my pain, my thoughts.
Yeah.
Naming the emotion and where it resides in my body, איפה הוא שוכן בתוך הגוף שלי, איפה הרגש שוכן בתוך הגוף שלי. והאין האחרון הוא nurture. nurture זה הזנה בעצם, איפה אני זקוק להזנה. בעצם השאלה האחרת זה מה הצורך שלי. למשל, כשאני מרגיש כאב בטן, ואני עולה באיזשהו פחד מאוד גדול והוא בבית החזה, מה אני הכי צריך באותו הרגע? מה הכי חסר לי? What I need in this time that I feel this abdominal pain and fear. So maybe it's something physical. Maybe I need to drink some water. Maybe I need to rest. Maybe I need to go for a walk, just to have some fresh air. And maybe I need some nice words, to hear some nice words for myself, because I don't expect anyone else to give it to me at the same time. Maybe I need to hear, אולי אני צריך לשמוע מילים טובות, אולי אני צריך מילים כמו, אתה תהיה בסדר, אני פה איתך, I'm here with you, I'm not going anywhere, אני לא הולך לשום מקום, קצת כמו להיות האמא או האבא של עצמכם. וזה כבר מתחיל לכוון לכיוון של חמלה עצמית. איך אני יכול להיות עם עצמי במקום שקשה לי. ואני אחזיר אותנו רק לילדות, שהרבה פעמים אנשים שסובלים מכאב כרוני, אנשים שלא מספיק ראו אותם בתור ילדים. They weren't seen as when they were kids. Nobody actually paid attention to their emotions. So we learn as adults, אנחנו לומדים כמבוגרים, גם כן לא להתייחס לרגשות שלנו, או להיות קשים עם עצמנו, כשאנחנו חשים רגשות לא נעימים. אז אם נוכל רגע לאמץ את האבא או אמא הטובים או הקשובים, זה יכול להביא לנו איזושהי מזור. ואם נסתכל על כל השרשרת הזאת, if we look at this whole chain from the pain to the emotion to the need, זה יכול גם לרמז לנו, it could imply that our pain or this exacerbation of pain, החמרת הכאב, יכולה לרמז לנו שאנחנו לא מתייחסים לצרכים שלנו. אנחנו לא מקשיבים עמוק פנימה. So every pain or exacerbation of pain could lead us to the fact that we are not tuned in, we're not listening to our real needs. And so this is what I wanted to add. I would like, if you have some comments about that, I would love to hear.
Looks beautiful.
I thought that was great. And to do it in 2 languages is even harder. That was a great discussion.
You can use one language when you do the exercise. You don't need to use 2 languages.
Yeah. Tovah, I did make some notes in the host chat. So if you have access to that, you could copy it and maybe send it to your audience or put it in whatever you want to do.
Oh, amazing.
If you look at host chat.
Yeah. Great.
I didn't take all the notes, but I took some.
Okay. Yeah.
I couldn't put it on the public chat, but that's
if I can cut and paste it, I'll put it on the Facebook page. But
okay, maybe you can do that. Or you can edit it first.
Yeah, great.
Listen, this was great having an opportunity to speak to the 2 of you and to your audience, and keep up the good work, Tovah and Amir, and we're all trying to do our best to help our patients and help a little bit the society at large.
Well, I hope we can meet again.
Out of the Zoom and Facebook Live and meet people.
I thought maybe we can meet again in a few weeks, and B'ezrat Hashem, as we say, the help of God, we'll be talking about, post-war. But in the meantime, I love that the 3 of us met. There's a lot to talk about. If anyone else has any questions, I can give you Dr. David Schechter's email. He's happy to speak to you. And Amir and I are here in Israel. We're happy to help you. Anyone else have any questions who's listening? You can ask now. David, do you have to go right now?
I have to go in the next 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So if anybody has anything they want to say, we can share it right now. But there's a lot to talk about. And I'd love to have more of a roundtable with people. I think people are also like quiet sometimes, and they're just listening and taking it in. And maybe we can make another opportunity to have a discussion and maybe do a Zoom. I'll put that out there, maybe a Zoom call. People can really interact. That's kind of where people, because that expression, I just want to say something really quick. The journaling is neurological. Of course, we journal and there's something changes in our brain. There's a relaxation. And also we know ourselves. By the journaling, we can know ourselves. And then we can understand more about how to connect to our body. Because some people are like, well, I'm not connected, but the journaling can help us connect. What Amir mentioned can help us connect, where we, you know, this is where we go back, we go deep inside, and the healing happens physiologically, emotionally. And so some amazing information tonight. And I hope that we can meet again and repeat it, because that's what it's about. Repetition, 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 as we change ourselves and grow and evolve. So thank you so much. Anything else, Amir, you want to say some parting words?
I just want to say that even meeting the two of you also regulates me. Like, I feel better right now than I started this conversation. So meeting, preferably face to face, but even when we don't have the opportunity, and David, that you're so far away, it gives us, like, it gives me the chance to regulate and to feel better and to feel meaningful. So all these things, if we could do them every day, it could really make us better. And מה שאמרתי, זה גדול שלפגוש אנשים, גם אם זה בזום עכשיו, ועדיף פנים מול פנים, זה באמת עוזר, וגם התחושה של משמעות. So you mentioned Viktor Frankl, like, I have a meaning, I know why I'm here.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I feel better too, and the only thing I have to add is Am Yisrael Chai.
Yes. Yes, we're here together, one for all and all for one. That united will save us, will take us to centuries, and our children, our grandchildren will be dancing in the streets. And until then, we will meet again. You know, guys, I'll call you. You know, I'm on this like it be like honey. Thank you so much. God bless you all out there. Erev Tov. Good afternoon. Erev Tovim, David. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye-bye.